Have the Guptas committed any crime? Are allegations of state capture a farce? How best can this latest development be addressed? What time is it? It is question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Mcebisi. During today's question and answer session, President Jacob Zuma told Democratic Alliance leader Mmuisi Maimane that he has no business with allegations made by Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas. This after Deputy Finance Minister Mcebisi Jonas confirmed that the Gupta family offered him a cabinet post. The ANC's National Executive Committee, its highest decision-making body between conferences, is set to discuss the matter over the weekend. We are live. Therefore, you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089-110-4210. Our Twitter handle @QuestionTime24. My guest today, Professor Lisiba Tefu, who is a political analyst and director, School of Transdisciplinary Research Institute at UNISA. But before we go into today's discussion, let's have a look at this clip.
I am intervening on that question. I'm dealing with it at the presidential level. I have met both the minister and I've met the commissioner, and I'm addressing the issue. So it is being attended to by the president and the necessary structures.
Well, that's the president not talking about Jonas, but talking about finance minister and SARS commissioners matter there. We'll get another appropriate clip at a later stage. Prof, welcome to Question Time. Thank you very much for making time to be with us today. Did you watch the proceedings in Parliament? What were your impressions?
No, I didn't, not at all. However, I did browse a few pages prior to my leaving the office to coming here, which is hardly 5 minutes from my office.
Yes.
And whatever I picked up, well, I think I have a sense of what is going on, no doubt about that.
Yes.
And some of the things, of course, are predictable. Okay, so I didn't expect much. If anything, I expect much as we go on up till Monday morning.
Okay, now let's look at what is happening. The ANC-NEC meets over the weekend, starting from tomorrow. There seem to be a lot of expectations. What do you think is going to happen?
Well, look, I don't think the ground is adequately saturated to warrant a recall, but we are getting there. Because increasingly, those that had the courage to defend the indefensible are getting fewer and fewer and lacking the moral courage to face their children, their families, and the society as a whole, especially after the concession that I will pay back the money. Many people were left with egg in their faces. And many of them, I don't think they will recover from that. And as a result, I'm inclined to think that the number and the chorus that would call for a review of the leadership is getting stronger and louder.
What would, in your view, warrant that type of action? What would warrant that drastic step to recall a president?
Look, history has somehow we say history repeats itself, but there are always minor, little, unpredictable incidences along the highway of life that tend to yield watershed moments. And I think, however minute the recall of Nene might have been, is the one incident this country will reel from, as it's already doing for some time to come. And I have no doubt that's one incident that certainly will precipitate the demise of the leadership, and in particular of the president.
I see. Let's take Temba. Temba, you are in KZN. Welcome.
Hello, Mfo, how are you?
I'm well.
Look, man, mina kwaseNatal wena ukwazi ukukhuluma isiZulu.
Hawu cha ngiyazikhuluma kahle nje baba.
Okay. Ngiyajabula. Look, man, what I want to know is, Mfo,
Yes.
instead of the ANC fighting among themselves about the Guptas, when are they going to call in a Gupta man and say to him, where do you get an authority to interview our cabinet ministers and offer them posts? Who gives you that authority? Discipline that man instead of fighting among ourselves. When are they going to call that man and say, you are only an immigrant here, meddling in the politics of this country and all that, and you've got an audacity to go and interview our people, our ministers, and offer them 1, 2, and 3, and confront them. That's what I want to know.
Okay. Prof, well, I'm not sure if you're the best person to ask or rather to answer that question, but is it possible?
But I'm willing to. I'm willing to
go
do
ahead.
That because I think he's asking, and he's not alone. I think people is a tautologous question and almost irrelevant to me, because I cannot wake up in the streets of Honolulu and call members of the cabinet of ex-government without a certain authority, without a certain basis to do so. Please, let's not fool people here, or at least take people for idiots. I mean, the issue of the Guptas have been with us for almost 7 years. You would recall, it has always been alleged prior to and after the meetings, the head of state would always stop by the family. That's one. Two, the murmurs and the discontent among men and women of conscience within the ANC have been with us for 5 to 7 years. There is nothing new, by the way, about what is going on. It's just that some people may conveniently or rightly so have not know about what transpired. Fast track 3 years back, you would recall, we had where do you get the courage and the audacity to fly in, right, to heavily loaded aeroplanes in a space where you know pretty well is a protected space, and you still can get away with that? Surely there must be powerful men and women with whom you align yourself and who certainly would pay your bills when it's called upon.
Okay, let's take Sianda. Sianda, you're in KZN as well. Welcome.
Yes. I think, you see, at times we are barking at the wrong tree.
Okay.
The issue that is facing us is the constitution of the ANC and the constitution of the country. The president must be elected directly by the people with 50% in a referendum to recall the president. And the constitution of the Republic of the ANC, where the president of the ANC shall be the president of the country automatically, irrespective that a person is a quota or a hyena or a chicken. That is what is facing us. We must make that call so that we don't have another Zuma running the country with the Guptas or any other crocodile coming in using the ANC to enrich the family.
Okay.
So I'm saying that we're barking at the wrong tree.
All right. Prof, but what is wrong with President Zuma having friends?
I think there is nothing wrong, really. Nothing inherently wrong with anybody under the sun having friends. We choose our own friends.
Now,
but Mpo,
yes.
let us not lose sight of the point made by Sianda.
Yes.
South Africa is exactly where it is precisely because of the point Sianda is making. Mm-hmm. Even Zimbabwe, with all the challenges it's faced with, there is still a modicum of democracy being practiced, where people elect their own up to the head of state. The beauty of what I am always advocating, and I published extensively and debated this matter, is the need for electoral reform. And it was the ANC that initiated the process. It was the ANC that appointed the late Dr. Van Zyl-Slabbert to say, please review this, because we cannot carry on as we are doing with the current Electoral Act. And indeed, recommendations are there as I'm speaking to you in the office of the CSG.
Okay.
What happened along the highway? They lost the appetite for that. But certainly, we are going to have to live with this situation for as long as we don't change the Electoral Act.
Tumelo, you are around Gauteng.
Yes, how are you, my brother?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, Tum.
Thanks, man. Look, really, we are tired of this Zuma thing and Guptas. Zuma, they are busy enjoying the pockets of the Guptas at our expense. You know, the ANC people are just there to protect their pockets as well. They don't care about the country. And it's the right time that the people of this country must decide to vote the right people who will take this country to a better future. Zuma and his people, ANC people, they are sending this country to the Guptas. How can the Guptas appoint ministers and deputy ministers to this cheap position like this? I think for our country, we are in a shame today. We are being people are just laughing at us when they see South Africans because of this man Zuma. Thank you, Paul.
All right, thank you very much, Tumelo. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, Prof, I want us to look at the possibility that you can have friends who take advantage of your position and go and abuse it without necessarily having been sent by you as their friend. And by this, I mean, what are the possibilities that, yes, the Guptas may have gotten vibe or information that so-and-so is going to be appointed based on the proximity that they have with the president, and then took advantage to call those people maybe to play big, so that those people may think indeed they were appointed by them or they made the recommendation. It's a possibility. 089-1104-210. This is Question Time.
For victory requires intense effort and teamwork. When you get to it, there is no turning back, because all eyes are on you. When it's action time, nothing should stand in your way. Sports Live tackles and analyzes all the sport action. This is the home of all your sport news, updates, and more. Sports Live weekdays at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is Professor Lesiba Tefo from the University of South Africa. He's a political analyst and director at the School of Transdisciplinary Research Institute there at UNISA. Douglas, you are in Limpopo. Welcome. Aro Twari Butsange.
Now I think it's right time for President Jacob Zuma to call it a quit, because he is killing the ANC and killing South Africa, and he is killing Africa. Now it is time to call it a quit. Whether Mantache, the ball is in your court. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Prof, well, Douglas says the president must call it quits. On what basis?
Well, Douglas somehow echoes the sentiment of former state president Kgalema Motlanthe, that leaders who have failed must have the courage of their own conviction and step down. And I suspect history might judge Zuma better if he were to voluntarily step down than to be chucked out. Either way you look at it, I'm one of those who think it is going to be difficult for him to survive this. If he does, he will go down. If he does, he will go down ultimately with the ANC. But if they have the courage to look him in the face and say, sir, it's time, and then perhaps, indeed, they might save themselves.
But Prof, I'm trying to find the grounds here as to, okay, fine, you say they need to face President Zuma and say, look, it is time to go. On what basis? On the basis that Mcebisi Jonas went and said he was offered a post by the Guptas? Is that enough reason?
Yes, please. I know that we are a relatively less literate country, but let's not insult South African people, please. I can speak for myself. I'm relatively learned, but by far the majority of South Africans are not. But I know they are not idiots. They really don't have to be schooled on this subject. One, there was the issue of Gupta Gate. Somebody spoke about number one. Do you want to unpack that? I don't think. Logic dictates to me that none doubts who number one is. Number two, when Mcebisi,
yes,
mentor spoke, unequivocally stated, the head of state was there, spoke to me and walked me out. And it was at that particular time where I was also informed and advised about the possible promotion, right, which I declined. Same applies to Jonas. What more do we still want to say, indeed, the president, there's nothing wrong with him keeping friends, but at one point you review the friendship if it is beginning to compromise you, especially in a delicate office like the one he's holding. Perpetually and consistently, his name is drawn in the mud. In the main, because of the nature of the relationship he has with some people. And in the main, because of failure to take advice. In certain instances, indeed, one example being one of the closest allies of his, Mek Maharaj, saying, can you, sir, please just pay a certain or a little amount in the name of Nkandla and let this matter to rest.
Okay. Vuma,
yeah,
you are in the Eastern Cape.
That is correct, Mpo. Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Vuma.
Well, Mpo, I would like to congratulate people like Mcebisi, Jonas, for coming out, because as it is at the moment, I can assure you that people have lost trust in the organization, because whoever that comes against, Mr. Zuma or whatever that is suggested, for instance, when it was suggested that he must pay at least some of the money that he that was paid towards Nkandla, that he benefited, in fact, that was not supposed to be paid. Now, all those people in Parliament were all saying, no, Mr. Zuma mustn't pay the money. And all of a sudden he said, then he's going to pay, and all of them then are saying he must pay. So with that, it goes to show indeed that some people, they don't have guts to go against the president, even if something it is not right. So if somebody, it just comes out to say, yes, I was approached by the Guptas and felt that was wrong, and he rejected that offer, we should applaud such people, because at least then it gives us some hope that at least there are few individuals who can at least say no to corruption, because this is corruption. You ask yourself that, say for instance, why would these guys have guts to approach people to say, here's a position if you want? And even if Mr. Zuma was not there on that meeting, but you ask yourself, if Mr. Jonas said yes, who was going to benefit? You understand?
Okay, Vuma. Thank you very much for the call. Now, Prof, I think I want us to also go back to my question, where I'm saying, what if the Guptas are taking advantage of their proximity to the president and abusing that?
Yeah. Okay. It could be. It could be indeed. I grant you that. But in the face of abundant advice and negative reports, insinuations and suggestions based on your proximity to X, wouldn't you review that? I mean, surely as a person and as a family, I'm convinced that they don't like what they see in the media, especially in the boxes when we are retired in our families. I'm sure his children are not pleased to see how the father's name is maligned, renounced and denounced. I'm sure for the sake of my family, I could even voluntarily say, perhaps it's time to step down. He has a duty to himself and to his family to say, this relationship I must revise.
Okay.
In fact, stop it forthwith. But Paul, there is a point I want to make here based on what my brother said earlier on. You know, you've got men and women in the ANC of courage who stood up, standing up today, and I have no doubt by Monday more shall have stood up to say, yes, It cannot go on like this.
Okay.
But you also have the likes of Maimane, the youth leader.
Yes.
You also have the likes of Kenny Mapatwe, right? The MK veterans who say, who are you who dare criticize and denounce people who are so generous to us? Who even said today, right? Let Jonas be punished for having brought the party into disrepute. Let Jonas be recalled because he has brought the organization into disrepute.
Okay.
Please.
Hold it there. Freeman Temba, you're in the Free State.
Yes, how are you? How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thanks for the call.
I'm well. Complaint. 2 points, very short points.
Okay.
One is those who continue to defend the Guptas, and then they say those who are not are defending the Guptas and are in fact avoiding the Oppenheimers of this world and this other old capitalist. They should not mislead us as young people because, if our forefathers then guaranteed their freedom and allowed themselves to be taken advantage of by the former colonizers, we should not be convinced that the new colonizers must be allowed to recolonize and allow the very same situation that led to the slavery of the over 350 years. So it should be noted that as we fight for the Guptas and we fight against these Guptas, we are basically saying no new colonizers must reappear whilst we are still fighting the old settlers.
Okay.
Second point is that Prof must also have two angles in his approach in the argument. Why then, the question should be asked, why are those who are now saying they've been persuaded by the Guptas or asked to do favors for the Guptas coming out now? What is the intention? That also must be asked because you can't then say you are principled, yet when the time is not in your favor, you are not principled. But when you see then the time is in your favor, you then want to be principled. We must also have two views on this issue.
All right, thank you very much, Freeman Temba. The Prof, I think it also raises, or rather I would just add that Minister Mwakura Mahlodi then also says, no, I was invited to a dinner soon after I was appointed, but I didn't attend. Why tell us about the dinners that you didn't attend and not tell us about those that you attended?
Well, when the time is opportune and in the fullness of time, truth shall triumph over evil. And there is something that is also called the balance of forces. I don't think for me, the rhetoric notwithstanding of the other fellow, which have got no place in the discourse right now, the issue here is there have been men and women of courage prior to what we hear today. It's not like ANC members, all of them were quiet. Ben Chirok, Paulo Jordan, and even Barbara Hogan,
yes,
and many others have had the courage to raise their voice. Even when they were en route to Polokwane in 2007, there were people who said, please, it cannot be correct. Ironically, some of those who were prepared to kill and die in favor of Jacob Zuma are out of the system, out of favor, or perhaps even leading the march and the charge for his demise.
But
so
Prof,
there is political opportunism,
yes,
and political expedience at one level.
I wanted to come to that as we conclude, Prof. Are this not indeed the cracks within the ANC? Are we not seeing contestation of ideas? Are we not seeing cliques and factions within the ANC now emerging?
Well, they've always been there, and they crystallized and became more distinct in 2007 in Polokwane. And since then, they've never recovered. And I don't see them recovering. If anything, the demise is steady, is gradual, but certain. But I also want to concede one point, as a follow-up to the previous point, namely that you also have the likes of Paul Mashatile and others who were demoted precisely because they had the courage of their conviction to raise uncomfortable and unpalatable questions.
Okay.
So, yes, there are frictions, there are divisions, but I suspect the number and the chorus is growing that is likely to win the day in favor not of the faction or of the party, but of the nation.
Okay, Prof, perhaps finally, between President Jacob Zuma and Deputy Minister Mcebisi Jonas, who is likely to be recalled sooner than the other?
There is talk about a possible reshuffle.
Okay.
I doubt if the president will have the stomach to go that route again. And neither do I think he will have the courage to look Mcebisi in the eye and say, it's time for you to go. If that were to happen, I think 24 hours might be enough for men and women to rally around and say, shall we continue in this fashion for how long? Is it not time, perhaps we also face the truth and recall the head of state?
Prof, thank you very much. All we shall do is to wait and see. That was question time for today. A big thank you to my guests and to you for watching the show. From me and the crew, you have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.